I went to London Watch Week expecting to be blown away by a £50,000 watch. Now I was, however, by the end of the day, the watch I couldn't stop thinking about cost around £2,000. And it wasn't even close. I handed over £500,000 worth of watches, I'd have to say, in a single afternoon. Now that's dangerous to do. I'm talking about brands like Laurent Ferrier, Ming, Andersen Genève, and rare vintage APs and Rolexes that I had never seen in the metal. And now I'm going to walk you through every single one of them in the order I experienced them and show you the watch that stole the entire day for me, and it was the one that I least expected to do so. It was a watch I didn't even know existed. If you are new around here, I'm Jag from Jag's Watches. We talk all things watches. I'm a watch enthusiast, not a watch expert. Do consider hitting that subscribe button, hit the bell icon. Let's get into the video. So let me set the scene. London Watch Week, independent brands, collectors, people who genuinely care about watches rather than just the hype. And before I even get into the main event, I stumbled into the pre-owned section. Rare vintage watches from all sorts of different brands. And look, I wasn't prepared whatsoever. Tortoise Watches and Watch Concierge services had some genuinely incredible pieces alongside some low London. Audemars Piguet, Cartier's, Rolexes I'd only ever seen on Instagram. When you see a watch on Instagram and you see many pictures, hundreds of pictures on Instagram, it never quite hits the same when you see it in the metal. And I feel like that's what happened about 6 times in around 20 minutes when I was in this section. But here's the thing, I'm going to be honest with you, because the watch that I wanted to take home wasn't a vintage Submariner or a Day Date or a rare Royal Oak. It was a TAG Heuer Formula 1, not even on its original bracelet, on this sort of random grey strap. But it had this charm, it had this wackiness I absolutely loved. £375 I think it was. I didn't pull the trigger because what I'm trying to do is actually have less in the collection. But it was the one that really enticed me. And that's what I love about this hobby. It's not just about the price tag. It's about what speaks to you. Now, section 2, this is where I got hands-on with independent brands. And wow, was I blown away. We're going to start off with Laurent Ferrier, the Sport Auto, which is around £50,000, and it's got me a little bit conflicted, I have to say. Now, Laurent Ferrier, born December 19th, 1946, son and grandson of watchmakers. His father worked on watches, so young Laurent grew up surrounded by Haute Horlogerie before he even knew what it was called. He trained at watchmaking school and joined Patek Philippe shortly after, and he worked on the prototype of the Genta-designed Nautilus. The Nautilus, one of the most iconic watches ever designed. Laurent Ferrier had his hands on it before it was even released. So there's that credibility, heritage and history of the brand straight away. And the watch that I got hands on with was the Sport Auto, the blue dial. Finishing was exceptional. Exterior, the refined interplay of curves and counter curves. The dome sapphire dominates the watch and gives it this irresistible curve to the touch. The dial pulls together all the Laurent Ferrier aesthetic codes in one place. Different shades of blue combined with the opaline finish that gives it this soft, powdery quality. It was beautiful, objectively. But here is where I was a bit conflicted, because for me, I felt like it didn't suit me whatsoever. It didn't sit on my wrist well, and that's maybe because I have smaller wrists, but it was the case in particular felt very bulbous on the wrist. No doubt a beautiful watch, but just a watch I don't think that is for me. Thankfully, I'm not in the position to spend £50,000 anyway. Moving swiftly on to Ming. Now, Ming is a brand I've been wanting to get hands on with for a long time. I've seen the releases, I've read the reviews, I've watched the YouTube videos, but I've never actually held one in the metal. The thing that caught me completely off guard wasn't the dial, it wasn't the case, it was this bracelet, the Polymesh bracelet I've heard so much about on the internet. 3D printing, basically a single piece of articulated structure, 1,742 interconnected elements, one piece, no links, no screws, no traditional construction at all. Now, I cannot describe how this feels because it's something you have to experience for yourself. But to have that, rigidity, strength of titanium, but it be so comfortable and conform to the wrist like a fabric strap, it was incredible. Does it warrant the expensive price tag? Potentially, because there's nothing else like it in the market, and I think that's why they can command that sort of, £1,000 to £1,500 price tag. Now, the watch I got hands on with itself was the 37.02 Minimalist. Now, for me, this is the most boring watch in their collection, but I really feel like it suited me. A very sporty, especially on the rubber, FXD rubber. I think it looked absolutely brilliant. around £4,000 if I'm not mistaken. But the one that stole the show for me had to be the Ming and J.N. Shapiro 37.06 Lightning. Now this is around £6,000. And the honest take here is that Ming is expensive now, and it didn't always used to be the case. The value proposition that made them so compelling in the early days has almost shifted, and I think that's fine because what you're getting now is a level of innovation that genuinely I feel justifies the price. Now this particular collaboration with Shapiro, this is a dial that I've never seen before, almost lightning-like dial, which is Shapiro's work, and then of course the way that the dial plays in the light is Ming's work. Never seen a dial like it. Now, is it for me? No, but I can appreciate the innovation here, and the dial work is stunning. It's all hand done, so I am a fan of Ming, to say the least. The next brand, the best world timers I think I've ever seen in person. This is Andersen Genève, founded in 1980 by Sven Andersen, who by the way is known as the watchmaker of the impossible. Now when you see these watches in person, you probably will understand why. The brand produces just around 50 watches a year from their ateliers in Geneva and La Chaux-de-Fonds, using traditional methods and techniques that have been refined over 4 decades. Now look, I've seen world timers before, Patek, Vacheron. I've handled a few, but these were special and were the best world timers I'd ever seen with my own eyes. The level of detail, the crispiness of the printing, the way the blue of the dial shifts under different lights, every single element of the watch felt deliberate. Nothing was there by accident, and I absolutely loved how each model was so different as well. If I ever win the lottery and I want a world timer, this is the one I'm going to go for. But I have to move on to the brand that stole the show for me. And by the way, world timer that I potentially can afford now, which is why I think this brand just stood out for me completely, and it's Nomos. I had seen Nomos online, I had seen YouTubers raving about it, but I had never really got hands-on properly in the metal. And I did spend the longest time, I have to say, at this brand because they were kind enough to show me basically everything I wanted to see, and they gave me the time of day. One thing that I was really grateful that they did show me was their Twice Unique collection. 2 watches sharing the same design created as a pair, one in 18 karat gold and the other one in stainless steel. 2 materials, 2 characters, one warm, one powerful, the other clear and understated. Each pair is individually crafted upon request, each with its own unique number, and they're only available as a set. Now my favorite was the Urania. It's one of the collections that retains a topography of each watch model but sets everything against the stars. The numerals and indices on the steel and gold pairs are rendered in matching gold tones, and while each model features a different sky, the blue luminescent constellation ties them both together. They did really feel very, very special in the way they're presented as well. Go and check them out on the website just to see what they have, because it's something unique, something that is quite different for the industry. I've never seen, watches sold as a pair. Expensive, but the most expensive thing that I'm going to talk about from this brand, because then I move on to one of the most I think underrated square watches on the market, and I think that even more so than now that I've got hands on with it. So talking about the Tetra, the square case is divisive, sure, but on the wrist it just works. It's almost got this architectural quality to it. And also the Club Sport World Timer in white, I think personally really suited me. Clean, legible, utilitarian without being boring. I have never really gravitated towards the classic GMT, with the bezel, night and day, 24-hour, I've never really gravitated towards GMTs, and that's probably why I don't have one in the collection. But a world timer has always fascinated me, but typically world timers are very expensive. But this one in particular being around £4,000, under 10mm thick, wearable, practical in every sense of the word. The only thing I probably didn't like was the bracelet and how the center links, there were quite large center links that were fully polished. I've never liked polished center links that are so big. However, that's me being very nitpicky. This is a contender for my first world timer. I want to get hands on with this watch, and the one thing that really stuck out for me is pressing that button, changing those cities, because it's so addictive. The feedback you get from that is incredible. Now, when I'm talking about feedback and tactile sense, I need to move on to a watch that completely caught me off guard, and I have to shout out Wahaj, because he's the one who went with me, a watch friend of mine who went with me and said, Jag, you need to check this watch out. And I wasn't expecting to fall for it whatsoever. This is the Ludwig 38 with the enamel dial. This is reference 236, £2,000. Now, My footage isn't going to do it justice. This is a watch you have to see in person. The Ludwig 38 has a new look, a glossy enamel white dial, and I mean properly glossy, the kind of depth that makes you want to just stare at it. The Roman numerals, clean. The blue hands, clean. The small second sub-dial, which is slightly recessed. Simple, elegant, but absolutely timeless. 38mm in diameter. But the thing that got me wasn't just the dial, wasn't just the simplicity, just the elegance of this watch. It was the tactile sense when I was winding it. This is a manual wind movement. It has the best winding feel I have ever experienced in my life. I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. It's smooth, it's precise, it's got this mechanical feedback that makes you want to just wind it for the pleasure of it. Look, for £2,000, it stole the show for me. I feel like it's the watch you get when you really don't care about what other people think about your watches. It's almost like the end game watch. I can imagine I would buy this when I've had enough of all the BS and I just want to wear a watch on my wrist. It's so elegant. I absolutely love it. I want to get hands on and spend time with that watch actually. So look, don't be surprised if you start to see some Nomos watches reviews on this. I'm going to reach out to them and get some of these watches and spend time with them, more importantly, and hopefully I feel the same way about them after spending more time with them. So here's my takeaway. London Watch Week reminded me of something I think we all forget sometimes. The best watch isn't the most expensive one, even though the most expensive ones there were incredible. It's not the one with the most complicated movement. It can sometimes be just the one that makes you feel something, gets an emotional connection out of you. And let me know in the comments which your favorite watch was out of these in the video. One biggest takeaway for me was speaking to other watch enthusiasts. I feel like we have the best community. We just, I don't know. I just feel like I met some great people and we're just all a bunch of weirdos with weird obsessions and clearly addicted to something, and we like to share that addiction and enable that addiction for one another. So big up to everybody that I spoke to and met in person. I had a great time, and if you enjoyed the video, please do like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I've been Jag from Jags Watches, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.